Hi guys, happy Thursday. Hope everyone is doing well. Once again, my name is Saimah. This is Saimah's Experience, and if you like this channel, please be sure to subscribe. All right, so here's an update post summit. The summit is over. It ended just not too long ago, and so I'm going to share my thoughts and my feelings on it. If you are watching this video to find out if there was any direct sort of financial assistance that may be provided by Turo to their hosts, I will just go ahead and tell you right off the bat that there was not. So if you're looking for that in this video, you will not find that. But you will want to refer to some of my past videos in terms of the video about if you can't make your Turo car payment, what to do. So that'll walk you through the deferments, and then how to save your business during a crisis. That'll take you through about, I believe, 7 or 8 steps that you can take, and it'll really help kind of keep your business together as we all sort of work through this. All right, so first I'll begin with kind of, I guess, describing the feeling of it. Like I mentioned, the information that they share during the summit is marked as confidential, and they sort of release it on their own through a series of emails. At least that's how it's been done in the past. So I can't talk about specifics, but what I can do is refer to yesterday's video where I anticipated what was potentially going to be on the agenda, and let me just say pretty much everything that I said was going to be on the agenda was, and it was talked about. So I would say I felt that the overall feeling from Turo was a bit somber, which I actually completely understand, and I think it's pretty normal. I think for them as an organization, this has been such a major shift, and they've had a slew of layoffs. I think over 100 people, and this is all public information. Whenever contributors actually shared this on the channel yesterday, there's a website called layoff.io, and you can actually see all the layoffs that are taking place by so many different companies. So check out that website, and thank you so much for sharing. The person who commented that, I appreciate that. So that's a big shift for them, and obviously, for every single business out there, this is a time where you have to manage your expenses more than anything. It's like we've talked about in my past videos, especially in the video about how to save your Turo business during crisis. It's managing your expenses is the biggest thing. And so, of course, for them, that presents a huge shift in the way that they do business, because they need to create enough runway for themselves so that they can outlive this crisis that we're in. And so you can kind of feel that for them too. And that's, again, like I said, it's totally understandable. I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just what I would expect it to be. So yeah, there is a bit of a somber note, and I think that they're still kind of settling into the changes that their organization has faced. And you also have to kind of think about it like, we're in the month of April. We are supposed to be in high season right now, right? We're supposed to be gearing up, going into summer. Travel starts picking up. April is spring break, and it just really starts to get busy. And so this is probably the time of year where, especially for Turo executives, like, they're really excited because revenues look great. There's more hosts joining the platform. All the momentum is there. Investors are happy. This is like the peak sweet time of the business, and that's just been kind of robbed from not just Turo corporate, but from even hosts, because of just these unprecedented times that we're in. And so, of course, in many ways, that's really depressing for everybody, whether you're a host or you're corporate. So that was sort of the overall feeling that I got from it, and it was expected. So from then on, they talked about a lot of stuff that is already common knowledge. And like I said, I can't discuss the exact numbers, but it's stuff that we've already talked about on this channel, such as the trends that have taken place in the transportation and travel industry. We know that bookings are down, and they're almost next to nothing right now, right? We know Airbnb is seeing, 50, 60, 70, 80% decrease in bookings. Turo is in the same boat. Places like OpenTable, they're completely reconfiguring their businesses, and before they're really a booking platform, but obviously they've seen 100% decrease in business there, and they've sort of switched over to becoming a site that tracks things like grocery stores and grocery delivery, so people kind of know how busy or not so busy these places are and they can plan to go there accordingly, which I thought is a really interesting pivot. So all of these trends we're already aware of. We already know that the transportation travel industry is getting hit hard and will continue to get hit hard as we progress, as the months continue to progress. What I'll go over next is what wasn't talked about and things that we've, I guess, sort of brainstormed as a community here on this channel. What was not talked about, which I wish these items were talked about. One, there was no discussion in terms of initiative to help any first responders or anyone working on the front lines and to really represent Turo as that part of the community and that sort of leg to stand on during this crisis where, you know, we have an abundance of a resource, which is transportation, and people are being mobilized now more than ever in some specific industries, and you have to assume that a lot of these people need transportation, but there was really no mention of anything, not even remotely anything close to having any type of initiative from a corporate level down to kind of be that pillar in the community during this crisis and offer up our resources. There was also no talk of any breaks on the revenue percentage split on the host side or any decrease of fees on the renter side. And truthfully, I just think with the position that Turo is in, they just can't afford to do that. So, you know, I get that they can't offer that. So there was none of that. And finally, there was no sort of concrete help in terms of financially. Everything was just pretty much referred out to the SBA. So there was no specifics in terms of exactly what steps a Turo host can take to secure any sort of additional financial funding from the government stimulus that was passed. It was just a quick, hey, there's a stimulus, and refer to the SBA for assistance to see if you can qualify for anything. So there was none of that. Aside from that, I think that one thing that we can rest assured is that Turo isn't going anywhere. They're fine, I think, in terms of financially. You know, they were lucky enough to secure funding earlier this year and mid last year, which, you know, thank goodness they did that, because had they had not done that and didn't have that additional funding, it would be very hard to raise money in this climate. So in terms of cash on hand, I think that they're fine. They're definitely going to be able to weather this storm. And I think when they come out on the other end of this, they are going to be stronger and they are going to have a huge chunk of the market share. And I think they're going to have an increased chunk of the market share, because I think a few other companies out there, such as Get Around, that we know they're struggling, and maybe even Hire Car, I don't think that they're going to survive necessarily all the way through this crisis. So Turo will definitely emerge stronger. With that, no, I think there is going to be some major host depletion through this crisis, and this part of it has nothing to do with the summit, but just in terms of projections, and as the days go on and the news change and we hear more and more about what's going on and how things are progressing, it seems like this is probably going to last longer than what any of us initially thought. And I think because that time frame is going to be considerably longer, it's going to be very difficult for hosts to stay alive on the platform, and that includes myself. I mean, I might have to exit out of this whole thing as I'm better able to assess what I think this time frame is going to look like. So I think the platform is going to see major host depletion, which then they will have to figure out on how to incentivize people to replenish their supply, so that, you know, in turn they can see the demand, and then it's just sort of a cycle that continues. So that's kind of what's been on my mind lately. And I think, you know, just listening to the news and some of the harder hit areas, and, you know, California is a hotspot in basically all the major cities, New York, Florida, Washington State. it's very, very possible that we could see martial law go into effect. And if martial law does go into effect, that will really change the climate of things. And I think it will deter what few reservations and rentals that are out there to stop. And obviously, Turo's largest markets are the biggest cities in the country, right? So they go hand in hand. And obviously their bookings have already almost completely fallen off, but I think even if something like martial law goes into effect, even the localized bookings that we're getting, that I've talked to you guys about so many times, and I'm a prime example of that, all of my renters have been 100% local and repeat customers. I think even those will begin to fall off, because if something like martial law goes into effect, it's kind of a scary sight to see, and I think it's really gonna force people to stay in, and even if they need a car, they might not even venture out to make those bookings. So kind of going back to what I started talking about a couple of weeks ago in my previous videos, I think as a community, we are definitely going to be each other's help. We have to be each other's help, but we don't really have any other option other than that. And you guys have all been so great in collaborating and sharing ideas. So I think that, if any of you guys have ideas out there of how we can work together, how we can support each other, how we can share resources, we should definitely collaborate on that. And I can compile that information and continue to share it with you guys. So for example, resources that I have access to are like my service providers. I have great people for wheels and tires and PDR and just minor repairs, and my shops that I work with. So I'm more than happy to share that if anyone finds themselves going through the claims process. I am still making efforts to reach out to different organizations and see how we can work with people to offer up our cars to frontline responders, and have that be an avenue of helping out our communities, especially as this progresses. So definitely do chime in. I know a lot of you have started on the platform from watching my videos. So I want to make sure that, during this crisis that we're in, that I'm definitely providing as many resources as possible for all of us to kind of get through this. And I think anyone that has any ideas that can sort of chime in would be great, and we can kind of put all of that information together. And that really was the gist of the summit today. There wasn't really anything that I think wasn't already previous knowledge, and everything that I discussed in yesterday's video was brought up. I had mentioned in yesterday's video, of course, health and safety was a top priority. I talked about in yesterday's video how they would likely go over Turo Go and really push that. And of course, this is all the obvious stuff that they would talk about. And then I talked about in yesterday's video how when it comes to claims, they definitely, we all know this, that insurance has to be one of their biggest costs of doing business. So they want to try to minimize claims risk, and, just do all your due diligence, take great photos, make sure that, you're verifying your guests. And one important thing to know, as I've switched over to this myself too, and I was actually talking to my claims agent from this last claim that I had, and one of the things we talked about is just making sure if you're doing any virtual handoffs that you are definitely verifying people's driver's licenses. You don't ever want that to be a reason why a claim doesn't get processed, because it is still your responsibility to verify that driver's license. And in this climate, you really want to make sure that you take the extra measure of not just getting a copy of their driver's license, but having them take a photo of the driver's license and themselves. So have them take a selfie so that you have proof that it is in fact the person. And other than that, there is definitely one major change coming down the pipeline that I can't go into detail about, but I think we're going to hear about it very soon, within the next week or so. And I think that major change will, in many ways, fundamentally change the way a lot of hosts do business. And it'll definitely make you reevaluate the best way for you to operate your host business. And just from the gist that I got from the summit, because you could kind of see everyone live chatting, some people saw it as a good thing and some people didn't see it as a good thing. So, and truthfully, I haven't really thought about it too much myself just yet, so I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But once it comes out, then let's all definitely have a discussion about it. And on that note, that's pretty much it. The summit wasn't very eventful, and again, usually these summits are they're very bright and they're positive, and they're usually held before the summer season, so we're all getting ready to go into a good time. But of course, it's just a weird time to be alive in general, and so just had a little bit of a somber note to it, in my opinion. And so if anyone else got the chance to listen in on the summit, definitely do share your thoughts. This is just one person's thoughts and observations, just my personal opinions on it, but other people may have viewed it differently. So that's what I could share with you guys. But other than that, like, what's that kind of cliche saying out there? It's like, success is not owned, it's rented, no pun intended, and rent has to be paid every single day. So in these situations, you just have to do everything that you can do. Today, I did actually look further into some of the SBA programs, primarily the payroll protection program, so which I can share more about that with you guys as well. And I'll just throw it into this video right now, and then I'm actually going to link a video to the description down below of a guy who did a great job talking about it, and I want to give credit where credit is due. He'll explain it a lot better than I can, but basically the payroll protection program is going into effect tomorrow. As of right now, you need to work with your bank, who is likely going to be a preferred SBA lender, and they will start accepting applications. Now you can go to the SBA's website, I think it's sba.gov, and you can download, they have a PDF available of all the documents that you need, and the application, just real quick looks like that. You can download it, fill it out, get in touch with your bank. I called my banker today, and they're going to start accepting applications, and your bankers will actually send you any additional information that you need. So some of you may qualify for this. Basically, when you apply for this, what the purpose of this program is, from my understanding, is of course to keep people getting paid and staying employed. So if you have any form of payroll that's being paid out, you can likely qualify for this. And the type of things that this money can go towards is payments to yourself or to your employees, mortgage interest, rent, or utilities. Now, there's also a chance that the lender will forgive this loan if you spend this money within 8 weeks of receiving it, and it's going to those expenses. And basically the way that it gets calculated is it's your average monthly payroll times 2.5 equals the loan amount. So definitely what I would recommend is call your banker or your banking institute today if you think that you can qualify for this, and get in touch with them and have them provide you all the information. It's very important that you get on, whether it's doing the PPP program or it's doing the disaster relief program, which you can directly apply for through the SBA, where they're doing that $10,000 advance. Whichever programs it is that you're trying to do, the thing is not to procrastinate. You need to get on this right away, because you have to imagine that there are tens and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of businesses. I mean, we have, millions of businesses here in the US. I think it's like 38 million or something like that. So you have to know that a big chunk of these people are going to be applying for these programs. And you really want to make sure that you get your placement in line so that hopefully you can get processed sooner than later. So do check that out. I will include these links in my description down below. Just be proactive. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen is that you don't get approved for this. And if you don't get approved for it, then you don't. But at least you tried, right? So you just want to try what you can. That's basically what I'm doing. And if some assistance comes in, that's great. If not, then, I'll figure something else out. But, I think that in terms of what we can expect over the next couple months in terms of revenue growth for Turo is that it's going to be just a real gradual, slow roll through, at least in my opinion, the next 3 to 4 months before we really start seeing a shift in the revenue. So just hang in there and prep for that. Think about that deeply. Think about what your options are and if you can even make it 3 to 4 months down the line. And if you can't, then it's probably a good time to come up with some contingency plans and really plan ahead and know what your options are. But on that note, that is it for me for today. Hopefully you guys find some of this information helpful. But as promised, I did want to update you guys on the summit. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight as to what went on. All right, guys. And as always, most importantly, take care of your health, stay well, do some indoor workouts, try to remain active while keeping safe and positive. And most importantly, keep that mindset strong. Keep your mind healthy, keep it going, and don't let this crisis get the best part of you, because our brains are capable of amazing things, way more amazing than probably you can even imagine. So you just really have to tap into that as much as you can. And if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, I would highly recommend listening to my 75-day hard videos. It's I'm on day 57 of the 75-day challenge, and basically every single day I read a chapter out of a book called The Wealthy Gardener, and it's the fundamentals of what you need for anything, whether it's to run a Turo business or it's in your job or it's just in your day-to-day life. It applies to everyone and every situation and every scenario that you can think of, and it really illuminates your mind into what you can do. So tune into those videos. I post every single day, usually at night, and I do go through those chapters, or just go out and get yourself that book or download the audiobook. But check out those videos for all the information. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Take care. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.